What's up, mate? Got cake, mate. Got cheese, mate. Got bread, mate.
All right, March 1st. Let's talk about some college basketball. Let's go over some long shots who I think actually have a real shot. And then we have our super lottos. And then there's a Hail Marys where these teams aren't even in the conversation to make the tournament, but there's that slim chance they get in at the very end of the season or with the conference championship win at the end of the year. So I think that we should get started with some long shots that some of these long shots they're I think they have a legit chance to win the national championship, and we'll go over why. Let's go ahead and start with a team that we got at 80 to 1, but they're 60 to 1 right now, and you probably could find a better number. Depends. These are just via DraftKings, and that's the Florida Gators. The reason why I like Florida is they have a lot of size in the interior. They have length, and they can rebound and shoot the three-pointer. Their guards are good enough to where they can they're actually the Florida guards have improved. So before they were just nothing but shooting the three, just jacking up threes no matter what and see what happens. But as the season has come along, they were actually getting a little bit better at getting to the basket, trying to draw fouls, working the ball inside to the post, and the post have been playing great. So Florida, they had a tough schedule at the beginning of the season, started a little slow in SEC play, and then they came on really strong in the middle of the year. And right now, ending the season, they're really hot. I think that with their rebounding, it gives them a chance to go up against anybody. Let's say if they played, UConn, they play UConn. They have the size to match up with UConn. They have the defense to match up with UConn, and they can shoot the three to keep up with UConn. The same thing goes with, I mean, they are in the SEC. They've beaten good SEC teams. They beat in Kentucky, Auburn, and I'm not sure if they beat Tennessee. I can't remember that matchup. I know that I don't think they've played Tennessee at home. On the road, Tennessee beat them pretty easily. But, they have the type of size and athleticism to go up with Big 12 schools, the SEC schools, and then they'll match up perfectly with Big 10, Big East, that sort of thing. So, Florida right now, and these and by long shots I mean like over 50 to 1 odds. Okay, so right now I got penciled in as number one Florida Gators, about 60 to 1. We got them earlier in the year at 80 to 1, so I really like them. Let's go on to team number two, and that's going to be the team that they're playing this Saturday, and that's going to be South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina's almost the same thing with Florida. They have good size in the interior. Florida has a better interior, but South Carolina has veteran guards. They usually don't turn the ball over, and they can shoot threes, and they have go-to players for when they need buckets. I like South Carolina, but the problem is with South Carolina, I don't know how legitimate of a team they are. Uh they've had some big wins on the road, Kentucky, Tennessee, um and their problem I think is if they go against like a Baylor, like a Yukon, a Houston. I don't think they're going to be ready for teams like that. Like I said, they've done a really great job in the SEC, but how will they be outside of conference? They started the season undefeated. The only loss they really had at the beginning was against Clemson on the road, and that was a close game. I think it came down basically came down the last 2 minutes. Um, but South Carolina's a good team. I just don't know if they could beat the best from other conferences like UConn. Could do they have enough size and defense to beat like Purdue, even if Purdue makes it that long, right? So I like South Carolina, veteran team, good guard play. They can go inside, outside. They can find buckets when they need it, and I think it'll be tough for them if they play like a top tier school from another conference though. So we'll wait and see. But at 8, I don't have this one, but this is just a recommendation. South Carolina at 80 to 1. All right, let's move on to another team that I didn't think I was gonna be saying this year, or at least from the beginning of the season when I watched them play. But the Gonzaga Bulldogs, it looks like they're going to sneak into the tournament. They're going to do just enough, and you can make the argument that they're one of the hottest teams going right now. I think Gonzaga, Gonzaga has size, and they have a little bit. It seems like they have a little bit more physicality now this season, so that'll definitely help them. That's something that always hurts them in the tournament. They're just not very physical, and they go up against physical teams. They tend to get beat up pretty bad. UConn, UCLA, tough. Who else? Baylor when they had to play Baylor, and let's see here. But I think they have great guards. They have wings. This Gonzaga team's actually pretty good, and at 80 to 1 odds, that's not terrible. I was afraid that they may not get into the tournament, but after they beat San Francisco by like 20 points, I think that I think they have to play St. Mary's one more time. They beat them. They do fine in the WCC tournament. I think they'll be okay. I think Gonzaga is gonna a sneaky pick. Do I think that they could beat UConn? Do I think they can beat Houston? Them beating Kentucky, that was a huge win. They beat Kentucky on the road pretty easily. They led the whole game pretty much. I think that kind of swayed me to think about like, well, maybe we should take this Gonzaga team a little serious. So, um, yeah, I think the Zags is worth a shot here. But again, could they beat Baylor? Could they beat Kentucky? Can they beat Tennessee? Can they beat Florida? Like these are the things that you got to think about. Um, and can they? Yeah, I mean they beat Kentucky. It's at, all I'm saying is like at 80 to 1. That's not terrible. Do I think they can win the national championship realistically? I don't know. I really don't think so. I don't think they would be able to beat an Auburn, Tennessee, Houston, Baylor. I don't think they could beat those teams. If they played Texas, that would be like a really good matchup, I think. Which segues us to our next team. Our next team here is the Texas Longhorns at 100 to 1. It's going to be tough for Texas to make a run, but they can. They have the coaching, they have the defense, but it's which defense or which team is going to show up? Like which Longhorns team is going to show up? Is the Longhorn team that played Iowa State who did not have any energy, emotion, tenacity until the last like 2 minutes of the game when it didn't matter? Or is it going to be the Texas team that played Houston, the Texas team that went on the road and killed Texas Tech and embarrassed them? Like which Texas team? If the Texas team that played uh Texas Tech, Houston, UConn, even UConn without Disu, they had like a really strong game. They only lost by 9 points, I want to say. And it was a close game for not having like their best player. So I think Texas at 100 to 1. It's all going to depend on the Longhorn seeding. I think if they finish the season strong, which they would have to win, like I think at Baylor this coming week, it's going to be tough. So I think they have a winnable schedule. They just have to go on the road at Baylor, I believe, and that's going to be a tough game. So I feel like Texas, depending on how they end the year, they might get stuck with the 8 or 9 seed, and then they'll have to go up. I almost guarantee they'll have to play Purdue or get matched up in that bracket, and if Purdue wins, so that'll be a tough game. But I think Texas, if they bring that energy and tenacity, the veteran leadership, and if they give Kendall Weaver some playing time, I think Texas is a team that could make a run, a legitimate run, because they're going up against these tough Big 12 schools. So if they go against these other schools like ACC, Big 12, mid major, I think that they might be able to get some wins and see what might happen with some momentum. So at 100 to 1, which we have Texas, I think we have Texas a few times. So I don't even know what it's up to right now, but we have a few tickets on Texas all the way from when they start the season, like 40, 45 to 1, 50 to 1, something like that. So Texas, I really think that they can make a run. It all just going to depend on their seeding. So that's for my long shots that have like a legitimate chance, I believe, to win national championship. South Carolina, Gonzaga, but Florida, if I was to rank them, I would say like Florida, Texas, South Carolina, Gonzaga. South Carolina, because they're a little bit more physical than Gonzaga, and they're proven. South Carolina's proven. They've played tough games in the SEC on the road. So Gonzaga's that flyer. Like you might want to take Gonzaga because they could get really good seeding if they win out the rest of the season, including the tournament. They can get some very favorable seeding. and maybe make it to like the Sweet 16, and anything can happen from there. All right, so that's what I like, those top five. So let's go on to our next one, which is going to be our lottos, which these are some pretty big long shots, but I think that they actually have. I actually think that they have some good chances to win here. Let's start with my number one, who I think has a really good shot to win, or a legitimate shot to make a run to win a national championship. Like, so many things have to go right. And let's start with the number one here. So it's gonna be the South Florida Bulls. All right. So let's start with their coach. Their coach, he coached Kennesaw State last year, and they almost upset Pittsburgh in the first round. Should they have won that game? They probably should have won that game. They ran out of gas late in the second half. Pittsburgh went on a run. They get knocked out, and all of a sudden he goes to South Florida, and now South Florida's at the top of the conference, and most likely will either should win, or I don't know. Their conference is tough to win the conference tournament, but I think they have done enough to, if they finish the season undefeated, like, or don't lose any other games, I think they'll get an at-large bid, because their resume is just as good as Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic had a better preseason schedule, non-conference schedule, but um, South Florida whipped up on them, and I think they're a team that gets in over some of these other, like the Pittsburghs of the world, where the Duke elitist Jeff Capel's trying to tell us how and what they should do, and 100 teams should go into the tournament so that it's fair for everyone. Fuck you. Whatever. Wasted breath there, but mm, mouth got a little dry there. All right, so let's go to the next team. Another segue right into their conference foe, Florida Atlantic Owls. Florida Atlantic pulled what? I think they were a 9 seed last year, beat Memphis, just barely beat Memphis, and then went on to the Final Four and probably should have went to the national championship. Got beat on the buzzer beater. They missed free throws. Their free throws killed them. They should have went to the national championship, and that would have been a great game. But Florida Atlantic at 100-1. We have a couple tickets on Florida Atlantic and FAU at 100-1. I think they've done enough, especially in the non-conference, to get them into the tournament as long as they finish the season strong. Which the past half this past that end of February they came on pretty hot. So I think that FAU is gonna get in, but because of the seeding and them most likely not winning the conference, they might get that 8-9 seed. I could see it. I could see the 8 or 9 seed, and they're gonna have to do it all over again. So that's gonna be a tough one, especially because they're not gonna sneak up on anyone this year. They're just not. But I still think they're worth a shot. They've had a tough non-conference and a tough conference. The American, there's some tough teams in there. National championship teams, maybe not so much, but there's still tough competition. All right, so we got them on the board for the lotto, and there's another one that I think is a long. It's a long shot. It's a lotto. It really is. It really is a lotto, but it's possible, and that's the St. John's Red Storm. Ever since Rick Pitino cussed his team out, told them they're a bunch of weak losers, they've won 2 in a row. Rick Pitino brought out the white suit, had to get it tailored, had to get it so he could fit into it. The 2 wins. I think they have 8 conference wins, maybe 7, 8, 9. So they're right there on the cusp. They're right on the cusp. And I think the Johnnies get in. I think that they ride this momentum. They get a couple more wins, and they still have a chance to boost their resume in the tournament. Even though it's at home, Madison Square Garden, these are going to count as home games by the committee. So we'll see what happens. But I feel like St. John's, if they get it, and we have a ticket on St. John's, I think it's like 80-1. We may have 2 tickets. I don't remember. Because I kind of forgot about them because of, like last month. It was just bad. It was just a bad month for St. John's. They couldn't catch a break. But I feel like they're hitting their groove, and they have the size, and what there's such a bad matchup for UConn. If they're a bad matchup for UConn, they can match up well with Tennessee, these SEC schools that are bigger, and St. John's can run with Big 12 schools and some of the SEC schools. So St. John's is kind of built like a Frankenstein. Like they're big, they could run, they could shoot, but they have like all these weird parts all over the place. But it kind of just the Frankenstein's monster. Like that's basically what they are. Dr. Frankenstein's Rick Pitino, and he built like this little monster that he hates but he loves at the same time. So it's kind of a Frankenstein situation with Rick Pitino and St. John's. And I love it. And I think that buying low on St. John's right now, I think it's a smart thing to do. Trust in Rick Pitino, Frankenstein, and his monster. All right, next one. And here's the hot team. This is what scares me, and I'll tell you why. Here's the hot team: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Mr. Avila for Indiana State Sycamores. They're going to be the popular team, and this is what kind of scares me, that he's already popular before going into the tournament. Which social media is crazy now, so like it's kind of different from let's just say like 10 years ago. Ali Farouk Manesh, like teams like that, Florida Gulf Coast. Twitter wasn't that hot like it is now. So they're already kind of riding that wave into the tournament. But let me tell you why that they might have trouble. So in the Missouri Valley Conference, they play a different style than all those other teams. They like to press. They like to play. I scared myself out of season there. All right, so they like to press. They like to go fast. They like to move the ball, and it works against the Missouri Valley because they all run. They're all slow. They all run like a Big Ten, like really just pitter patter offense. Except for Indiana State, so they kind of stand out. They're hot. So if Indiana State gets in, they're live. But the thing is, once they get into the tournament, a lot of these other teams are gonna play just like them, especially if they got to play Texas Tech, TCU. TCU's gonna say, "You want to run? Let's run." Except the TCU guards, they're a little wild. You never know what you're gonna get. But one thing about them that's a guarantee: they don't get tired. Like they're not gonna get tired. And Indiana State's just not used to that competition. They didn't play a tough non-conference schedule either. If I remember correctly, they may have played like one good team in non-conference, but that was about it. They really didn't have a strong non-conference schedule like a Florida Atlantic. So I don't really have a lot of faith in Indiana State. Will I be wrong there? At 200 to 1, like it's going to be fun, right? You'll be rooting for Avila the whole time and telling your friends like, "Oh, this dude got 200 to 1 ticket." So it'll be fun, but I just feel like if they get matched up against a Big 12 school, which is very possible, um it's going to be tough for them. Drake gave Miami a really tough and Miami got all the way to what? The Final Four. Almost. Did they get to the Final Four? I can't remember. I think they did get the Final Four because they beat Texas. Yeah, that's right. And then UConn killed Miami. Yep, that's right. That's right. So you never know. Like Indiana State could make that run, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, like I said, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a kind of a fun team, but realistically, I feel like they're gonna end up getting matched up with a team that could run with them, and it's gonna be like a rude awakening. So, but hopefully I'm wrong. And Avila's only a sophomore, so there's plenty of more time for to watch him play. So those are my lottos. I feel like that's a pretty strong group there. Uh do they have a chance to win the national championship? Yes. Is it realistic? A lot of things have to go right. Whoa, excuse me. A lot of things have to go right. But I really like South Florida at 300 to 1. At that price, they play defense, they can rebound, they can run, shoot the three-pointer. They have good guards, strong guards, and some of these guys are from Kennesaw State, a good amount of them. So they do have tournament experience. So that's something not to forget about, that South Florida has that experience. And at 300 to 1, if they pull like maybe a 5 seed, 6 seed, um Like maybe they get that Florida Atlantic seed, like an 8 seed, 9 seed. Maybe they get matched up. I'll tell you, if they get matched up with Purdue, they probably beat Purdue. If somehow who that other Arizona gets a 1, they'll probably beat Arizona. Arizona. I don't think they can get to the Sweet 16. But that's a video for another day. All right, and I have 3 teams here who are probably not definitely not, I don't think definitely not guaranteed a spot into the tournament, but they could have a really strong conference tournament, possibly win the conference tournament and sneak into the NCAA tournament. So and these are ultra Hail Marys. Let's start with the first one, and that's going to be Memphis Tigers at 500 to 1. Memphis, basically they'd have to win out, which win the next 3 games, and then probably win the conference tournament or knock out Florida Atlantic, SMU, South Florida from the conference tournament, which probably at that point they'd have to win the whole thing, which it's not impossible for Memphis on a neutral. Probably not impossible. So if you want to get crazy, you want to throw a Hail Mary out there, long shot, that would be Memphis at 500 to 1. I think that they have a chance. They're starting to turn it around offensively. And if like I said, if everything goes perfectly, seeding wise, them getting some of these wins, I think they can do it. I think they can do it. All right, so here's the next one. Washington Huskies. This is a crazy team. They love to run, jump. They just love to play playground basketball, play wild. And I think that they're kind of hitting a groove to where they might be able to make a run in the Pac-12 tournament and win it and get in. And at 500 to 1, again, like these are Hail Marys. This is basically what they are, just Hail Marys. I think that Washington, they have really good guards. I think they transferred in one from Oregon, Xavier Wheeler from Kentucky, and then Maya, who's been there, 7-footer. So they got speed, they have size, they have 3-point shooting. Washington at 500 to 1. I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. And last but not least, another one. Do I feel very confident in this? No, but it's very possible. Ohio State Buckeyes. If the Buckeyes are already hot right now, and if they win out the rest of the season, which is very doable, and they have a good run in the Big Ten tournament, they might sneak in at like one of those, like a 12 seed or something like that. It's weird to say, but if this team's fully healthy, I mean, they started off the season red hot. They beat Alabama early in the year. I mean, it's not crazy. Will they win the national championship? Probably not. But if you're an Ohio State fan, you're from Ohio, you're a Buckeye fan, what the hell, right? At this point, what the hell? $5, $10, $25 on Ohio State. You never know. Can they win the national championship? At this point, you kind of know what you're getting into. It's a Hail Mary. So you just got to wait and see. But I think these 3 teams, if they win their conference tournaments and get in, anything goes. Momentum, anything goes. I mean, we've seen VCU make a run. We've seen like these teams make runs. And at 500 to 1, at these odds, what the hell? But these are my plays. Well, some of them are, and a lot of them I just wanted to go over because, it's that time of year. I think it's a good way to kick off our first episode of March Madness. Hopefully we can do this every day of March, at least put something out there so that we could talk about college basketball wise. And I think it's a good start. Like I said, I really like Florida, Texas, South Carolina, Gonzaga. We talked about why. And then South Florida. I really like South Florida. And Rick Pitino, Frankenstein. You never know. All right, let me know what y'all guys think. We'll try to get another video going, but let me know what y'all think in the comments. Leave us a like, and hopefully we get some more college basketball content out for y'all leading into the tournament and once the tournament begins. All right, we'll see y'all later.